Hey guys, Marissa at kitchentablestamper.com. Today I've got this cute little bag in a box. Isn't this adorable? So this is a Stampin' Up! Clear envelope. I cut the adhesive flap off, filled it with some fall treats, and tied it up with the beautiful pecan pie center stripe ribbon. All right. Now that is a cute way to give a treat, maybe a little tag on there, right? But even cuter is the bag in a box. So we're gonna make this little simple box that is perfect size for filling with cellophane bag full of treats. All right, so today we're going to start with some Cajun craze. And I've got 4 1/4 by 10 1/2. And I have to tell you that this is from my awesome community member, Pam. We are doing featured stamper this week on the Kitchen Table Stamper Craft Social. And Pam posted a little bag in a box like this that she made for a shower treat. And so I just ran with it. I don't know if these are Pam's measurements, but I cased hers and my treat box looks a whole lot like hers. So if you're curious about our community, the Kitchen Table Stamper Craft Social, the link is in the description below. All right, so I'm going to put the Cajun Craze into my Simply Score tool. It's 4 1/4 by 10 1/2. We're going to start on the 10 1/2 inch side, and we're going to score at 1/2, 1 3/4, 5 1/2, and 6 3/4. Then we'll rotate once to the right and score at 1 1/4. Nice part about this is you can get 2 of these out of 1 sheet of cardstock. Now, if you were going to make a lot of these, so why not? If you're going to buy a bag of Werther's Original Cinnamon Cream, and you're going to buy a bag of Ghirardelli Pumpkin Spice Squares, and you're going to buy a bag of Ghirardelli Caramel Apple Squares, I found all of these at Walmart, and you might want to make more than one, just fill up your treat bags. All right, so that's, and my box is very much inspired by the wrappers of these. What you'll do is you'll start with 8 1/2. Oh, sorry. What you'll do is you'll start with 8 1/2 by 10 1/2. Put in the 10 1/2 inch side, score your 10 1/2 inch side, same way, 1/2, 1 3/4, 5 1/2, 6 3/4. Then cut that in half at 4 1/4. Then rotate and score at 1 1/4 for 2 boxes. So for every 2 boxes you make, you'll score the 10 1/2 inch side 1 time. So if you're making, half a dozen or a dozen of these, maybe for your Thanksgiving table, you'll cut your scoring down just a little bit. It's a trick I learned when I was making lots of multiples for craft fairs and stuff. So when you can score once for 2 boxes, take advantage, right? All right, so now we're going to work the folds with a bone folder, and then we'll trim up the box according to the template. This would be adorable on your Thanksgiving table, I think. Nice little treat to take home after the meal, or to, if your family's like my family, whenever there were candy favors on our holiday table, after the meal, the bags would start to open and the candies would be eaten and the wrappers would be left behind. Nobody took their treats home. They always had them after the meal, kind of as a little something sweet. It was kind of like dessert number 1. Right after dinner, have something sweet from your treat, and then after dinner would come out the pecan and the pumpkin pie and the so this was dessert number 1 for our family. All right, so I just cut out the little rectangle in the bottom left and beveled the edge. We're gonna liberate the tabs on the bottom straight along this big rectangle, and then a little angle cut for your tab at the bottom. That'll make a nice clean bottom edges for you. And same thing for the other little square, turn it kind of trapezoid with an angle cut and then straight along the rectangle. Let's get some Designer Series paper on this box. I have Designer Series paper from Sweet Days of Autumn. Now, I cut mine into 6x6 because I did a sample pack of the scrapbooking paper for autumn. and the scrapbooking paper for Halloween for my card club members. If you're curious about our card club, you can check that out. But they got a sample pack. So what I have left is 6x6 that I cut for my sample pack. But the Sweet Days of Autumn is a 12x12 paper pack. Now we're going to glue these guys on. I'm using 2 sides of the same paper here. And I've got 2 1/4 by 3 1/2 and 1 by 3 1/2 times 2 pieces. One for the front, one for the back. Let's go ahead and glue those on. All right, so we've got some liquid glue, and I'm just going to apply these so that they overlap a little bit and each side of the Designer Series paper shows. I love when you don't have to sacrifice the pretty side. Okay, there's our Designer Series paper. Let's get some tear and tape adhesive and we'll put together a little box. So simple, just a cute little way to finish off an adorable bag of treats, right? Got adhesive down the glue tab. We're gonna fold on the second score line. So not the first, but the second. Fold from the opposite side and then burnish that down. Then with the seam on the back of the box toward you, you're going to put tear and tape adhesive on the up side of the box. So the side of the cardstock that's up, you put the tape, right? So this one's facing up on the bottom tab, bottom back tab. This side is facing up on the bottom front tab. And what happens then is when you go to put this box together, your box will have all the seams across the back because your bottom back tab will go towards the front. Your front bottom tab will go to the back. And you've got your seam across the back on both sides of the box. All right, so let's go ahead and remove the liner and assemble the box. And there it is. Now let's burnish the bottom with the bone folder to get that adhesive to stick. And now it's time to decorate. I'm gonna move these guys out of the way and we're gonna do some stamping. I'm using 2 different stamp sets here today. This is Autumn to Remember. It's from the new scrapbooking release. And then I've got the Labeled with Love bundle. You can put the Labeled with Love and the Labeled with Love punch together and save 10%. Those are our stamps today. All are photopolymer, so we're gonna need a Stampin' Pierce mat and some very vanilla and crushed curry, crumb cake, and Cajun Craze scraps. And my ink colors for this project are very similar. Got Early Espresso, Crumb Cake, Cajun Craze, Old Olive, and crushed curry. Gonna start with this little crumb cake piece here. I've got this adorable little trim detail from the Autumn to Remember stamp set. We're just gonna stamp that with a tone on tone. And then I've got my label from Labeled with Love. Stamp that in Early Espresso. We'll pop the greeting in nice and high so we have room for our cute little acorn detail. That greeting is also from Labeled with Love. And the little acorn, that is from Autumn to Remember. We've got Early Espresso, and we're gonna add that right onto our label. So cute. Let that dry for a minute. While that one dries, we're going to stamp our big maple leaf Cajun Craze on Cajun Craze. And we're gonna stamp 2 of those. Then a little bit of Old Olive here. Let's bring this Very Vanilla scrap back in. I'm going to stamp this leaf And Old Olive on Very Vanilla, also from Autumn to Remember. And our last little leaf, I think this is an elm leaf. I don't know. I'm so bad at that. But it's crushed curry on crushed curry. All right, let's get the punch for our label. Here's our label punch. Give that a quick squeeze. And then the rest of our elements are going to be fussy cut. So I'm going to give you a couple of fussy cutting tips. I haven't given fussy cutting tips in a while. I'm going to just tell you a couple of things about fussy cutting. So the first thing is if you fussy cut your item and you leave just a little bit of a border past the image itself, that border is not what the eye is going to look at. So the eye is going to be drawn to the artist's image. So it'll be drawn to the leaf and the edge of the artist's image. So it gives you a little bit of room to hide any imperfections in your fussy cutting. So when I fussy cut, I will generally fussy cut with a little bit of a border. The other reason why I fussy cut with a little bit of a border is because our dies and punches leave a little bit of a border. So you'll see that around the label image, the punch does not punch directly on the line. It's got a little vanilla past the edge of the image. Most of our dies do that. So when using a combination of fussy cutting and tools, you have kind of a harmony there among your project. If you try to cut right on the line, then the viewer's eye is going to be drawn right to the edge that you cut. And if that's not perfect, well, there's some little tricks you can do, but if that's not perfect, it's going to draw attention to it. So when I fussy cut, I cut with a border. Then the other thing that I do is when I fussy cut, I move the paper. I don't move the scissors. So if you watch me fussy cutting this leaf, you see that I turn the leaf and cooperate with the scissors. I don't hack the scissors all the way around the leaf. Okay, so and then you'll notice how when I fussy cut, I hold my scissors so that the bottom blade is supported. I do 2 fingers most of the time, and then operate the scissor with my ring finger. You can also do 1 finger and operate the scissor with your middle finger. Now, if you're not doing that, you're missing out on a lot of control, and so I suggest that you start practicing with that support underneath that bottom blade. The other thing that is beneficial is if you practice with your middle finger in the loop, and then you practice with your ring finger in the loop, you start getting good control and you do good fussy cutting with both. If you're doing a bigger job of fussy cutting, then you can switch to avoid fatigue and you really get a nice smooth cut because that bottom blade is supported. And you also have like a teamwork where you can have your ring finger in the bottom loop and then switching to your middle finger if you feel any fatigue coming on. So support that bottom blade and give the finger that's actually opening and closing the scissor a break by practicing with both of the fingers. The last thing I would tell you is that you don't win for cutting it out all in one piece. So here we're going to cut off the bottom set of loops here, so it's the perfect trim for the back of our box. You'll see that I'm cutting away the excess as I go. Keep cutting away the excess. There's no reason to wrangle the cutoff piece. So we're going to go all the way down with this, and you see we're just wiggling the paper as we go. It's really not a hard cut to do because you move the paper, but now the cutoff is getting kind of long and it's hitting my finger. So there's no prize to get out in one piece. Cut off that excess so you get cleaner results. All right, so we're going to cut off the excess. There's no prize for cutting it all in one piece. We're going to support the bottom blade of our scissor by either having the middle finger or ring finger in the loop. We're going to turn the paper and not hack around the object with the scissors. And I think that you'll find that you become a neater fussy cutter if you employ a couple of those techniques. If you are not somebody who enjoys fussy cutting, a little practice with some of those techniques will help to make the cutting a little bit more enjoyable for you and give you better results. All right, so I'm going to by the magic of television. I have the rest of my bits done. Don't worry, I will definitely be using those to make more of these little treat bags. But you're gonna need 2 of your maple leaf, 1 of your old olive sprig. Here's that adorable trim piece all cut out. And our crushed curry leaf. Let's bring our sample back in here. This is gonna come together really fast now. We've got our treat box for our bag in the box, and we're looking for the seams. All right, so we're gonna start on the back of the box, and we're going to adhere this little trim across the back. Wait till you see how cute this is. All right, isn't that cute? It's gonna just cover the seam between the 2 designer series papers and make this box cute coming and going, right? And we just cut off the bottom 2 loops when we were fussy cutting, and it is the perfect length for this treat box. Is that not the cutest little detail? All right, back to the front of the box. I'm gonna use some Stampin' Dimensionals and adhere my leaves. I'm gonna start with these big orange ones. I've got a little surprise here. So I have a piece of crumb cake. It's kind of the next layer up here. I'll show you that one in just a second. It's a piece that is 3 inches by 3/4 of an inch. And I found it in my scraps. It was already stamped with that knit background stamp from a couple of years ago. So we're gonna do on our craft social a challenge. Pam's our featured stamper. We're all gonna make her bag in a box and then share on the craft social. We have a challenge every week, by the way, in our group. But the second part, the bonus part of the challenge, is gonna be to take those things that are like in the, what I call the stamping graveyard, you know. So I had a card front that was just stamped with the knit background, crumb cake on crumb cake. And since it was just sitting there, I thought, hey, why not use it in this project? I like the little texture that that gives. But even furthermore, I'm going to take that piece and Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and the Dashing Designs 3D embossing folder. So it's got this knit stamp on it anyways, and that's just how it was in my scrap envelope. I don't know what possessed me to keep it. It was a whole card front though, so I probably thought I was going to use it. I did some really cute cards with the crumb cake on crumb cake knit, so it was probably a leftover one. I just had to keep it, you know. You got those things at home. Do you have a paper crafting graveyard too? The challenge is going to be to use something out of that paper crafting graveyard. So now it has the stamped texture and then an actual physical texture too. So just a little something. It's kind of fun to use something up that has been sitting there for a while in a new and creative way. So that's the bonus challenge. We're gonna make Pam's bag in a box, then bonus points if you use something from the graveyard. All right, let's get our crushed curry leaf. I'm gonna put that one on with a dimensional 2. And I'm going to put my banner on with a little liquid glue. All right, so the banner is going to kind of cover that seam. It's going to be pretty well centered on the box. And then we're going to tuck this little leaf in here. Add some color to our acorn. I've got crumb cake. It made sense because the top of the acorn stamps early espresso. And we got that little crumb cake banner there. So I'll do a little light and dark mix, leaving the light, the right side, the light side. A little bit of Stampin' Dimensionals on the back here. I'm going to put them straight down the middle. put that to the left of center. So cute. I'm gonna look at it this way and make sure that it's not crooked. I think it's pretty good. I've got my old olive leaf here. I'll add a little glue and pop that on the label. Where's that bag? Where's that treat bag? Let's get that in there. Isn't that cute? Now we're gonna do a little bit of embellishment. We have the cutest little detail, if you ask me. I'm gonna tie a tiny little linen thread bow. Loop swoop, tuck and pull. And I'm gonna make it as tiny as I can. Just super cute. Just gonna add a little texture, pull that crumb cake color all the way through. Cut that little guy away from the spool. Add a little glue on that. I love this really fine applicator for this. I can just squeeze a little glue right on the knot, top it on there to dry. And for another texture and a fun pop of color, I'm gonna embellish with these faux glass dots. These are a lot of fun to add a little color. They've got kind of a frosted texture and 4 different colors to choose from. I'm going with some green. I'm gonna do a big one and 2 little ones and in kind of a triangle placement here. I am a little bit dingle challenged, I'll be honest. So I say embellish however you like, but I'm pretty happy with the triangle placement there. And that is Pam's Bag-in-a-Box. I hope you enjoyed the project. If you want to come and check out the Kitchen Table Stamper Craft Social, the link is in the description below. We'd love to welcome you into our Stampin' Up! Community. If you've got any questions at all, reach out, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. To shop Stampin' Up! 24/7, you can buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.